All right, my friends, we're back again. We're talking about perspective and specifically 1-point perspective. Last time we created this work of art where we're creating these boxes above, below, and right on our horizon line and creating them, making them look like they're in 3 dimensions going back in space using our vanishing point here. All right, we could clean this up a little bit more by erasing these extra lines here. And you can see we've labeled the front, the sides, the bottoms, the tops of all our squares. But what if we're not working with a square or a box like we've done here? Well, that's what I'm going to show you now, and that's what I'm going to have you try out for this next assignment. We're going to start out the same way, trying to create a horizontal line going left and right, straight down the middle of our page. And now we're going to place our vanishing point. 1-point perspective gets 1 point on our horizon. I'm going to put it right here. All right. Now, if we have a different shape, now letters are a great demonstration for this. All right. If we have, let's say, an E, I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to sketch it out real quick. I'm going to make it a block letter. Yeah, not bad. Pretty proud of that. All right, making it above the horizon line. Now, instead of the 4 corners of our rectangle like we had before, we've got tons of corners going on here. All right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12 corners instead of 4. But the same rule applies. We're going to draw each one of these corners to our vanishing point unless they go through our shape. So let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Same thing. I'm going to put my pencil on the vanishing point, put my ruler up against it, and then push this up until we hit our first vanishing or our first corner. And we're getting right here to this corner of the E. I can see that this line is not going to go through my E, so I'm going to draw that to the vanishing point. Put my pencil back on it. Start moving up. Now we've hit this corner here. That line is not going to go through our letter, so we draw that to the vanishing point. Keep scooching up. We're at this corner right here. Now if I draw a line here, it's going to go through this bottom part of my E. So I'm going to skip this one. I'm not going to draw that one. I'm going to keep moving up until I hit my next corner. All right, I hit this inside corner right here of my E. If I draw this, yeah, it's going to cut off this corner, but my first drawing of it is not going to go through any part of the E. So I'm going to draw this, but I'm going to stop right here when I get to that corner. All right, I'm not going to need it to go all the way back, so I'm going to stop right there. Okay, put my pencil down, keep moving up. All right, I hit this corner here, and that's not going to hit any part of my E. Keep going. This corner here, that's not hitting anything. Down to my vanishing point. Moving up, we got this inside corner here, and that's going to cut this off right there. So I'm going to skip that one. Keep moving. We got this outside corner here, same thing. Going to draw that down to the vanishing point. Keep moving up. We've got this corner here, and the same thing. I'm going to draw that down because that's not going through our E. Keep going. We got this far corner over here, which is going to go right through our E, so we're skipping that one right there. Keep moving up, and these last two are going to go down to the vanishing point. All right, now we got something that looks fairly complicated. But if you follow these rules I'm going to show you right now, we should be able to finish this off pretty easily. All right, you can see we've got all these diagonal lines going to our vanishing point. Now we need to cut this E off. Right now it looks like a super long E going way back in space until it disappears, just like our boxes did before we cut them off. But how do we cut them off? Well, we're going to start at the top and make our way down to the bottom, and we're going to look in between this diagonal line and this diagonal line. In between these two, our E has a vertical line going up and down. Okay, so we're going to cut this off with a vertical line. Okay, scooch it over, And we'll cut it off right here. Whoosh. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next two lines. We got this one here and this one here. All right, between these two lines, we have a horizontal line. So we're going to connect to this vertical line we made with a horizontal line going over. All right, so I'm going to try and line that up, make it look parallel to this one, connect it to this one we did over here, draw it over. All right. Now we've got something strange going on. We've got some weird things happening here because we've got this line here, which goes to this point, and this line, which goes to this point. We skip this one here. All right, so we're actually going to be drawing a line that mimics this part right here. All right, vertical line going down. So we're going to take this and just draw it straight down until it hits the inside part of our E right here. And stop. All right, you see how that little vertical line mimics this vertical line here? That's what we want. This is going behind this part of the E. We can't see it because we're looking up at it because it's above our horizon line. All right, we'll keep going. This line and this line here has another vertical line. We've got to try and make it the same distance that we have here. So let's kind of guesstimate about right there. Okay. Between this line and this line, we have a horizontal line that we want to connect to here. Going straight over, like that. Between this line and the next part, we've got a vertical line, just like we did before here, but we're going to see more of it. Let me move the ruler over here so I can look. I always try and put my ruler so I can see the edge of it and see the line I'm trying to make it parallel to. That way I can use my eyeballs to kind of figure out exactly where I want it to go. The last two here, this one, we probably want to make it the same width as this. So I'm going to line it up right up there with this one and draw the same line down here, cutting this part off. And then the last two lines, we've got a horizontal line going over. So I'm going to line it up as best I can like this. My lines aren't perfectly straight on my E, but this line will be because I'm using a straight edge. And that's basically it. Now we just need to clean it up. After all these lines we just made, we're going to erase the lines going to the vanishing point. And now you can see we've got this blocky letter E going back in space. All right, looks like it's floating there. We can see that we got a front side. This is what we drew first, the front. We've got a bunch of sides here, side, 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 side. And we're seeing the bottom under here too, because it is above our vanishing point. Now, you'll ask me, what if I don't have a letter or a shape that has corners to it? What do I do then? Well, let's take a look at that quick, and then you guys can start trying this on your own. So I'm going to try my best to make a letter S. Now, this doesn't always come out great, but I think I'm doing okay, just like that. Now, the letter S has a couple of corners here, the way I drew it, and a couple of curves. Now, if we were trying to make a circle look like it's going back in space, that doesn't have any corners. So instead of going to the corners, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sides. And this is where the technique of using your pencil on the vanishing point works great, because we just want to touch the side of the circle. We don't want to draw our line from like right here or in the middle or anything like that. So I'm going to put my pencil here, put my ruler up against it, and then gently push it over until it just barely touches the side of my circle right there. I'm going to draw that line to the vanishing point. Okay, just barely touching the side. We don't want it to go from like right there. No, that's not going to look right. That's not going to look like a cylinder going back in space. I'll do the same thing this way. Kind of awkward for me. I'll put my hand way over here and scooch it over until I hit the outside edge of that curve of the circle. Okay, now it looks like we have this cylinder that goes back in space. But how are we going to cut it off? We can't do a straight line because that's not going to mimic this. So what we want to do is we want to mimic this same line, this same curve, somewhere down here. So I'm going to choose a spot, and this can be a little tough. I'm going to try and mimic that curve, only smaller, down here. From here to here, try to draw the same curve from there to there. All right? And then I can erase the rest of those lines going back. All right, now you see we've got this cylindrical shape, like a paper towel tube right there. All right, now our S is going to be a combination of the E and the cylinder here. All right, so we can start with our points. Put my pencil on the vanishing point, scooch it over. Now I made this line almost perfectly straight with my vanishing point. So both of these points are going to end up drawn back to there. All right, do the same thing with my 2 points down here at the bottom of the S. But I'm not going to draw them through the S. I'm going to start here and draw until I hit my line right there, like that. And then let's check that last point. When I line up that last point, you can see it's going directly through my S. That's going to be behind it. We're not going to draw it. All right, so we did our corners. Now let's do our curves. All right, we're going to do the same thing. We'll start on one side, and whenever we hit the edge of a curve, we're going to stop, and we're going to draw that back to the vanishing point. Okay, the outer edge of a curve. Keep going here. This is the outer edge of a curve right there, but that's going to go right through our S, so we're going to skip that. And then we can switch to the other side, put our pencil down, and go up from the bottom. Same thing. Here's the outer edge of the curve. Swoop. And then we'll keep going. Again, here's another outer edge of the curve, but that's going through our S, so we're going to skip that right there. All right, now we just need to cut this off. And the same thing, we're looking in between the two diagonal lines, and we see this curve from here to there. We're going to try and mimic that from here to there, just like that. Okay? Same thing. Between these two lines, we want to mimic this curve going up. All right, now if we get up to here and we don't get this loop-de-loop in there, that's fine. We kind of want to make this like a curvy parallel. Now that probably doesn't make sense. Don't tell your math teacher I said that. But we want to try and keep the same distance away and keep the same curve as we go up. So I'm going up, I'm going over, I'm going to here, and I'm just going to stop right there. All right, you can see I'm about the same distance away the whole way. And this back one here, I'm going to do the same thing. Try and keep the same distance away. Imagine you're drawing the same curve again over here. This is going to actually go off into here. Imagine I'm drawing that S further up and over. It's going to end up hitting right here and stopping. Okay, now we can erase these extra lines. This one here we don't need, and these ones here we don't need either. And that is how you make a compound shape. We'll call that a compound shape going back in space. Okay, curves and corners. So for this assignment, I'd like you to make more complex shapes. I want you to try one that's just curves. I want you to try one that's just corners, but with more corners than our boxes. All right, so maybe at least an L shape will be fantastic. And then I want you to make a shape that has a combination of corners and of curves. Now you could do letters like I did here. This could be an O, I suppose. Or you can just make random shapes. If I make a shape like this, there's a point, and we've got curves as well. All right, so these points will end up going back to the vanishing point, and that very edge of the curve will end up going back to the vanishing point as well. Then you just got to mimic those shapes. Okay, 3 shapes: curves, points, curves, and points. Give it a try. Take a picture of it and turn it in for the assignment.